Operation Paperclip. America secretly hired the Nazi scientists who built Hitler's weapons. As Germany collapsed in 1945, American intelligence officers weren't just hunting down war criminals. They were racing to find German scientists first, offering them secret contracts, new identities, and a fresh start in the United States, including men who had directly used concentration camp labor to build Hitler's most advanced weapons. The government spent decades denying how much it actually knew about their pasts. As Allied forces advanced into collapsing Nazi Germany during the final months of the Second World War, American military and intelligence officials became increasingly focused on a specific, urgent strategic priority separate from the immediate task of defeating German forces, identifying and securing access to Germany's considerable scientific and technical talent, particularly the engineers and researchers behind Germany's advanced rocket, aviation, and chemical weapons programs, technology that represented a genuinely significant potential strategic advantage in the emerging post-war competition with the Soviet Union, which American planners correctly anticipated would be pursuing the exact same German scientific expertise for its own strategic benefit. This effort, formally codenamed Operation Paperclip, involved American intelligence teams operating in the immediate chaos of collapsing Germany, specifically tasked with locating key German scientists before Soviet forces could reach them first, and, in a genuinely significant number of documented cases, before these same individuals could face formal legal accountability for their wartime activities, offering them secret contracts, relocation to the United States, and new professional opportunities within America's own emerging military and scientific research programs. The program's most historically significant figure was Wernher von Braun, the lead engineer behind Germany's V2 rocket program, a weapon that had killed thousands of civilians during German attacks on London and other Allied cities in the war's final years, and whose post-war recruitment by American forces proved genuinely, remarkably significant to the subsequent development of America's own rocket and space programs, with von Braun eventually becoming a central, celebrated figure within NASA's own space program, directly leading the development of the Saturn V rocket that would eventually carry American astronauts to the moon less than 25 years after his initial wartime work developing weapons for Nazi Germany. What made von Braun's specific case, and Operation Paperclip more broadly, genuinely, historically controversial wasn't simply his wartime work developing weapons for Nazi Germany, a fact American officials were entirely aware of at the time of his recruitment, but the documented, considerably darker reality behind the V2 program's actual production process, since the rockets von Braun helped design were manufactured substantially using forced labor from concentration camp prisoners working under genuinely horrific conditions at an underground production facility, where documented mortality rates among the forced laborers actually exceeded the number of people killed by the V2 rockets themselves once deployed in combat. A genuinely disturbing historical detail that complicates von Braun's subsequent celebrated public reputation within American space history considerably. American officials organizing Operation Paperclip were genuinely aware of these specific concerns regarding the scientists' wartime activities and Nazi Party affiliations, and the program's formal policy technically excluded individuals with documented histories of active war crimes or enthusiastic Nazi ideological commitment, though subsequent historical investigation has revealed this policy was inconsistently and in numerous documented cases deliberately circumvented, with American officials in several cases actively altering or sanitizing official recruitment paperwork specifically to obscure scientists' actual wartime records sufficiently to allow their formal entry into the United States, despite backgrounds that would have technically disqualified them under the program's own stated official policy. Beyond von Braun and the broader rocket program specialists, Operation Paperclip's recruitment efforts extended to German scientists working across numerous other specialized fields, including aviation design, chemical weapons research, and medical research. the latter category proving genuinely particularly troubling given documented connections between certain recruited medical researchers and Nazi Germany's own well-documented history of unethical, frequently fatal human experimentation conducted on concentration camp prisoners and other victims throughout the war, meaning the program's broader recruitment effort extended well beyond simply securing weapons technology into genuinely ethically fraught territory regarding the specific individuals being granted new American careers and protection. The program's existence and specific details remained substantially classified and shielded from public knowledge for decades following the war's conclusion, with American officials maintaining considerable, sustained secrecy regarding the specific scope of the program and the actual wartime backgrounds of many recruited scientists, a level of sustained government secrecy that meant the American public, and in many cases the broader scientific and academic communities these recruited scientists eventually joined, remained largely unaware of the specific, genuinely troubling wartime histories many of these individuals actually possessed for a considerable period following their quiet integration into American scientific and military institutions. Declassification of Operation Paperclip records occurred gradually over subsequent decades, with more complete historical documentation becoming available considerably later, allowing historians and researchers to construct a considerably more complete and considerably more troubling understanding of the program's actual scope and the specific compromises American officials made in weighing genuine strategic and scientific benefit against documented serious ethical and historical accountability, concerns regarding the specific individuals the program ultimately protected and integrated into American post-war scientific institutions. What makes Operation Paperclip endure as one of history's most significant examples of pragmatic strategic calculation, overriding moral accountability, isn't simply the scale of the program itself, considerable as that scale genuinely proved across the numerous scientists eventually recruited, but the specific, uncomfortable historical reality the program represents, that some of America's most celebrated post-war scientific achievements, including the technology that eventually carried American astronauts to the moon, were built directly upon the accumulated expertise of individuals whose earlier work had been developed under genuinely horrific wartime conditions, that the American government responsible for their recruitment worked deliberately, sustainedly to obscure from public knowledge for decades afterward. If stories like this, where a nation's greatest scientific triumph was quietly built on top of a past it spent decades trying to hide, are exactly what you come here for, subscribe to The Grave Details, because history holds more stories like this than most people will ever know.